Hello, I was evaluating the work of our participants in our training, and the training is on project management. The training is on the use of professional tools in project management, and I thought, why can't I delegate the planning evaluation, actually evaluating project performance, for artificial intelligence? There's a lot of fuss on the internet talking about the wonders of this capacity. Some YouTubers almost faint with each new thing. So I thought I'm going to ask the artificial intelligence, which I call an intern, to do an assessment, not the planning, an assessment of historical performance. And that's what I want to show you, what the result was, so you can think, if you agree with me, that you are an intern, that you have to be guided, that it's far from you asking a question and getting the complete solution. Far away, I say far away. So I'm going to show you the step-by-step process I did, and I'm going to end this video with some questions that I answered, and I'll leave it for you to answer too. Remembering this video, this post, this publication has an expiration date. It will be removed from the LinkedIn system as soon as I see fit. Let's get to the point. The process is very simple, and I will then make the full text available in the post system so that it can be read and followed by you if you want to repeat it. The system is very simple. I have file repeating a professional tool. We're not going to get popular people or anything here. They can't even make a schedule. I have planning file. This planning file is where I have the entire proposal to be executed. I also have fields that bring what has already been accomplished so far. So in this planning file, I have everything that is currently proposed. I have everything that has been defined, proposed at the moment. I have information about the reference line, the baseline, and we have information about what has already happened so far. The moment in an accumulated way. I also have a file in the professional tools where the historical development of the project's development appears. Within this file, I have a measurement, I have another measurement, I have others, I have several result measurements. So in the first file, I have the status, I have the current plan, and I have the original plan. In an accumulated way, the status. And in the other file, within the same project, I have several instances. I have measurement 1, measurement 2, measurement 3, and all the measurements that were taken during the life of the project. This allows me to know how it is, how it was, how it should be, and allows me to know the progress of the entire project in life during its production. And of course, along with all this, I need to have a well-defined monitoring and control process. Professional 2. The employee does not do what he wants in the measurement. The team does not write down what they want in the measurement. She also doesn't get the data she wants during a measurement. There's a clear, defined, austere process where the information that is of interest to management is noted. With this material in hand, I need to pass the information on to our intern. Our intern, as you may already know, is this one. But there's no point in going straight past it, although I tried, because after all, it's fantastic artificial intelligence. When you go straight through, all information has its coding, and within the management application database, each record has its formative elements, which are fields, and each field has a name, identifier, has meaning. Of course, intelligence seeks to discover these meanings. And the first test showed that it concluded very well and made a lot of mistakes, and the result came out crazy. So before that, I was careful to create a data dictionary. What is a data dictionary? Is that what the data means? What does that information mean? So here in pumpkin color is the data dictionary, and the information that I passed to the artificial intelligence tool would be all the data of the accumulated status data of the forecast of the current, the baseline, with history of the entire life of the project, plus the addition of data or adding data. So I passed all of this to the GPT chat. And of course it's very fashionable to do prompt. I think that's how you write prompt. I think it's like that prompt, fashionable to do prompt. And there are several experts who show how to make the prompt engineering, well, all of this that you should already know on the internet, on LinkedIn. And when you play the perfect question with all the necessary data, you expect the perfect answer. That perfect answer is, in our case here, audit report. I asked for an audit report that would simultaneously present which activities have time and cost deviations. What is time drift? It's how far they've come out of time. And what is cost deviation? That's how much they moved away from the original cost. Usually for more. So this didactic process, defended, sold, shows that today we have the necessary data and the definition, the data dictionary, and we have the prompt engineering theory. So of course we will have the audit report according to the quality of the prompt and the quality of the data. But that didn't happen. Let's understand why this didn't happen. The intern isn't that smart. How did it work? It worked like this. It doesn't pass everything on to the intern, but it keeps the question. Don't pass everything to the intern, but keep the question so that you can try to reach your result. Then you pass on basic and easy to understand information, which is the status of the project, the initial reference of the project, and the accumulated results of the project. This is in the form of a file, which I will later show you how I did. And you give the intern the data dictionary of this information that you just passed on to him from the project. And keep the question. He will more accurately give you the audit report you requested, a limited report, but adequate for his ability to analyze. And after all this, you repeat the process. To repeat the process, I will have to extend this here. You repeat the process, only this time you will provide your intern with the same question, which is the prompt, but you will provide additional data. This means that you are helping the intern to understand. Don't ask for everything, and they will get confused, and you no longer need to send the dictionary. Or maybe you need to send the new dictionary since it's a new file. How can you do the whole dictionary at once? You don't need to send it again. We will optimize the process. What you will get as a result is a report that you requested an audit. But in this case, in this tool, with the capacity that exists, you will receive a supplemented report. It is not a complimentary report, it is a supplemented report. And be careful, when you ask a question about the project's history, you have to be careful with the level of detail you send in the prompt. It's not prompt engineering, it's not how to make a prompt, it's understanding how the intern works. It's not because of the prompt, it's in the process of conducting the work. And I'll show you later that we can achieve better results, not only here, but also how we achieved which activities are deviating. Classified the way you asked. Who was responsible for the diversion? And how the deviation happened. So who, what deviations, what activities, how it happened, and other variables. Variables have accents. We get it in the first report, and the deviations, we get the deviations too. What were the deviations until the moment? And that's it. Then in the second report, we get details of how this happened over time. What the evolution of the parameters over time. Because after all, the second group of information is the measurements that took place throughout the life of the project up until that moment, or the work until that moment. So you will know how it varied, what the evolution was, and respecting the limits of our intern in mathematics, trends, projections, and fears. And with him, and if you want to repeat the process, you continue repeating, replacing this information with updated information in the future. Or that is, the same ones with more information. And then you can, I'll repeat here, you can, not with this information, but with this more historical information, you will definitely get audit report number 3. To avoid repeating this, I'm going to put it double here. Until the end of the project. And of course, when you get to the end, you would have a complete audit report. I believe it is clear that we cannot just rely on the wonder of the GBT application, nor rely on the phenomenal ability to generate prompts to achieve the desired result. You need to have a technique for guiding the intern. You need to have a teaching line. You need to have a teaching methodology so that you can actually use the intern. And after all that, you check and curate it. None of this has value if you don't come and say, I saw it, I checked it, and this is right. I checked again, and this is correct. After several checks and conferences, you may be able to gain confidence in the intern so that you can use this information as an alert in the search for claims, defenses, fine avoidance, and similar things. We will focus on the elements that interest us and that you will be able to check out here. We will focus on the project status data, the reference base, the accumulated values, and the notes promoted by the process that we developed to make this possible. So for this, I will take the 5th measurement of our work here. It's part of our course, but let's assume it's work. Let's take the 5th measurement and check that we have a set of fields here. There are many fields. There's a lot of information. There are many fields, and there are free fields for you to adjust at your convenience. But I'm going to take it here and show only the fields that are interesting, chosen for this analysis. So we have a lot of information here. All this information here, in addition to the current start date, the original baseline start date, the difference between the dates, all of this comes from the application of your calculations. Then you export this to Excel. Why export to Excel? Because it's the only spreadsheet that our intern, for now, can understand. Remember that when you export to Excel, These fields, this information, have titles that you gave, and there are codes that it assumes to identify the information there. So we already have the first part, we already have the blue, we already have this blue here. The other part is the life of the project. Well, fortunately in this tool, we have the life of the project. The life of the project can be seen here in its various measurements. And I have so much information here that is possible to be shown that I will select just a few. This is the information I want to show. And at every moment of life, I had information, details of who, when, how, why it happened, the measured values, all of that. Let me reduce this here to a small value. And I have set first measurement, second measurement, third measurement, the life history that I once again export, remembering that I have to identify the name that I gave it for me to understand and the name that the application uses to analyze the records. So I think that here we were also able to provide the necessary file. And I need to provide a translation of this information so that the intern understands. I will look here in my text for the moment in which I did this.
Here.
I presented something to the intern, history, guidance. Then I took the Excel table of the basic work plan, explained something about the formation of the fields. Then I put the code, the name, and I wrote what it is and for what is this field for. Otherwise, the intern won't be able to fulfill that engineering prompt. That fantastic thing. I also included within this guideline, I included the performance table of historical values. I explained how this works because the intern would never be able to learn this with the database on which he was trained. Because the database on which he was trained is the world. And the world doesn't do that. It doesn't have tools for that. Unless I create Excel or a database to store this, which is much more difficult for the intern. So the field code, name, description, and how measurement works, how history records work, were also included here. Then once that was complete, I was able to show the intern more elements. I don't provide the intern with the rules on how to measure correctly, how to record correctly, how to annotate, and how to get the data correctly. But I also have to provide the interns with my request, which I'm calling an audit report here. So browsing the document here, which I will make available to you, I ask the question, here, I ask the question, and I would like to draw attention to the following, and using the files provided, I did not say which ones, because I already said that I provide some in the first stage, others in the second stage, and so on. Using the files, use them to classify, identify the activities, and say which day is late and which is less early. Don't make inferences. We have to limit the intern, because otherwise he will start to make suggestions and guesses about the engineering of the next courses we have there. Maybe someone will talk about it. So to limit and objective the result, we have to put some notes, advice for the intern. Provided at the end, then I ask for all this work to be consolidated, and I ask it to generate a file, so I don't have to copy and paste it. This is already known from the latest versions of the intern. Well, here are the results. First phase, since I asked you to put it in legal form, since I asked for it to be objective, the first report appears, which I requested on a sheet. Now, with more information, in a complementary analysis, there's another sheet. And then I ask, since he understood everything, highlights, references, filters, and classification. And as I requested in legal form, given the above. All of this and this one are requests after he understands everything and is able to conduct the analyses within what was requested. Well, with this here we had instances of interaction with the intern, but remembering that the objective here is to inform that with quality data, with translation of this data, speaking of a database for understanding so that LLM can adjust its connections, you can slowly, as an intern, build quality responses. And as we talk about audit reports here, sending all the information and simply asking the question, where is the question? And simply asking the question is not wise, because it will cause confusion and you won't understand everything. Now I have to move on to the second part. The second part is, are these reports on how they are doing which activities in the life of the activities, highlighting the main activities with deviations, etc. Are they correct? So I now need to do an important thing called curation. I close here the test I did, the results I had, so you can reflect. Is it enough to have data? Is it any data? Do I need guidance on what this data is and what it means? Can I play everything at once and just by magic from the course I took, get my audit report? So it's for you to think about how you can guide an intern so that he can be useful within your work. Remembering that there are work risks, accidents. You won't send the intern to do something on the work site without preparing him to do it. Here are the results of my tests, and I had insight. I believe it would be possible not to have such a detailed report, but I believe it would be possible to have tips on deviations if we use primitive tools, like ProAgento, for example. We would be able to have this report not so detailed. Here's an invitation if anyone wants to discuss this topic. Well, now comes the most boring and most important part. I need to check if all the answers are correct. If the deviations are of this size, in this value, and for these causes, and those responsible are identified, they are in fact responsible.